What up, everybody? Another surf report. Are you ready for this one? Crazy freaking full moon and a lot more. Uranus is in charge this week, and my voice probably sounds quite a bit different. Been working through some stuff here, but we're doing fine. Back to our surf stance. Man, what a week this is going to be. All right, here we go. Here's the overview as I get my pointer out. You can see, all right, Uranus curveball. Let me give you some insight about how I derived that. First of all, the I-Ching says retreat. Good news, everybody. This is not about surrendering, putting up the white flag, and all that. It's about flexibility. It's about adapting. So that's step number one. Step number two is you have Uranus going retrograde. So that makes 5 retrograde planets now. You have Aquarius full moon. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. And then you have Uranus trine Mercury. I've got this in a green highlight because communication is a big thing, a big meme in the dream bot. So we have an overlap with communication, but we have disaster, chaos, and violence all grouped into one big thing. May even call Uranus or Pluto, one of those destroyer planets. And that's a direct overlap right in the middle. And of course, the blue is the retreat. And when I excuse me, when I finally read this I-Ching, you're going to understand why this really makes sense as a direct overlap right in the middle of an Aquarius full moon. It's expect the unexpected, and then try to get yourself into a position of advantage quietly, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ultimately, the main influence is the Uranus curveball, and that includes the Aquarian full moon with a Uranus in retrograde, and it includes Uranus trine Mercury. In other words, it's easy for Uranus to shake up thoughts, communications, etc. All right, that's where we get started. We're going to start with the comments first. Hold on. All right. Morrigan says, interesting as always. I think you have a way with really capturing the spirits and archetype pull going on right now. Now, just so you know, this is from the last surf report, but it was a little bit late, but it was really important. This probably could be the most important comment just about ever. Okay. And then she says, after having watched you for some time, it seems we might be on apparently opposite ends of certain ideologies, but it's fascinating to notice how similar themes are popping up on supposed polar ends of the cultural political divide. And that's exactly the point. The energies don't come in just one side, left, right, up, down, right, left, wrong, right. It's just an energy, and both poles, they come as continuums. And so that energy that comes in has a good side and a bad side. That's why I don't like using the word good and bad. And so if you know what the energies are, you know how to accentuate that, behave in a certain way. That's really the whole point of these surf reports. So thank you, first of all, Morrigan, for tuning in, even though we're on opposite ends of the spectrum sometimes or all the time or whatever. The point is, I'm not here trying to take sides. I'm here to try to give you the energy. And then it's up to you to figure out what you want to do with that energy. But you could probably extrapolate some news from those energies, etc. And that's what we try to do. But it's hard to make inferences on what's actually going to happen because of this concept of continuums, of energies having both sides to it. So anyway, well done, Morgan. Shout out to that comment. Dustisu says, best surf report ever, or wait, this is the best surf report we've seen yet. Thank you. The tension is bringing everything to critical mass around us. Could be a good thing, hoping for significant news for this week. Well, there is significant news. There's so much happening right now. I feel bad about posting so much on the Telegram account. So, and a lot of that, people are voicing their opposing opinions on some of them. That's fine. I love that we seek the truth. We don't really care about what's right or wrong. We want to know what's actually happening. And so if it is wrong, you've got opposing information, post that. So then we have a couple people that are really fascinated with the dream bot. CIRF says, I like it when you address the dream bot. It's fascinating. So we've got a boomer of a dream bot this time. And I like that Human Tiger points out some of the words and clumps them together. And I really like that. I like how you guys can interpret and do interpret in your own estimation of this dream bot and what that could mean. And yes, the collective mind can predict. Now, part of that is how do you interpret it? And so that's a whole nother discussion. Brian Adams says it's come. Brian Adams, by the way, has a nice, big, long philosophical discussion in the comments. So check last surf report and look through his materials. I think it's pretty good this time. And always. So Brian says it's coming. Tide is turning. It might get violent, but not guaranteed. Now, this is sort of an omen for this surf report, actually. The tide is turning. That could be the Uranus curveball. All right. Then shout out to Rita and Terry, just posing some difficult times. Fires out in the west, I believe, or Colfax. I don't know where that is, but my heart goes out to, it's really hitting home to a lot of you. And so, don't be afraid to post these in Telegram and YouTube, and, all of us can be sending you positive energy. So positive vibes to Rita and Terry for your situations. And then I'm thinking about something new here. It's maybe not best comment. This is just, I stole this online because I didn't have enough time to make my own little diagram, but not, okay. So let me describe what I'm doing here. I'm thinking that we could, on YouTube, we could vote. You can upvote for other comments. And that winner, the one who has the most votes, this time it was not for me to say, then we can put that up here. So it's not just me picking and choosing. It's you guys picking and choosing who deserves to be in this best comment award. So try to get that done by, I don't know, the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. That's when I normally have a chance to get to read some of those comments. So anyway, not for me to say says, I accept and manifest only what is positive, abundant, prosperous, and divinely purposed. Is that a better way to state the positive instead of the negative? Yes, I have opinion about this, however, because it looks like we're only accepting that which the ego's, there's a good chance that the ego is the one who's judging what's positive, abundant, prosperous, because, bad things happen, but maybe for a more divine purpose. And yeah, I know this is a long discussion. I'm not going to get into too much of it, but ultimately it might be better to say I'm only accepting or manifesting what is right for my life purpose, or my in alignment with my life path, that everything is as it should be. And I know that I can go into much more depth on that, but we get into this positivity too much. And, like we talked about the energies come in and you only get one side of it because your psyche is eliminating anything that might be growth or hard or a struggle, but that's just me. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just, to me, it's better to more focus on what's right for my life path. But that's just me. And I could talk a lot more, but let's move on. All right. Let me talk about the DreamBot first. So we have two big memes, and these memes are tight. In other words, the words are really, really together, and it makes that meme stronger. There's a lot more arrows, and they're a lot more similar in type. That's the meme itself doesn't span so many. There's not so much different stuff here. I'm wasting time. Sorry. The red arrows is about disaster, chaos, and violence. Just look through them. You got the police, the tornado. At the top, it says disaster, explosion. The top linguistics at the very top says disaster, airport, explosion. Now, obviously, this word airport here, this Kabul, in my guess, that's the biggest news that's happened over in Afghanistan, and that was an airport that got taken over. You see the guys that trying to hang on to the C-17 that's taking off and then subsequently fall off, and it's in an airport. Now, there wasn't particularly an explosion that I know of. It was a disaster. In other words, this airport thing right here, the word airport, is called day residue. It means that it's in people's dreams because we've been inundated with this info on mainstream, no matter where you look. Alternative news, it's an airport, it's an airline, it's the C-17 video. We also have some other big news, but stuff that I don't feel like talking about because it might get me censored here, but having to do with airport. But so let me back up. There's a lot of day residue here. It doesn't mean that we can't see more of this. When the mind is obsessed with something, this is the collective mind, it tends to create that reality. So there might be more creating of some sort of airport disaster. I'm thinking that airport is up here just as a day residue. And so there might be a different disaster explosion. But I don't think this explosion is day residue. I think it's possible that the word disaster could be day residue because this whole past year and a half has sort of been a disaster. All right. So then the other meme is comms. Think, talking, forum, song, detail, passing, text, word. Even AT&T. And this is another really tight meme. They're all very correlated. And if we would connect that to astrology, that would be the blue arrows would be Mercury. And Mercury just happens to be in a trine with Uranus, who just went retrograde and who's owning this full moon or ruling this full moon. So interesting, huh? I thought so. So we have the two main memes, disaster or chaos, even violence, and we have comms. So keep all that in mind. Now, let's get into the astrology. Excuse me. All right. So we have, as I said before, Uranus going into retrograde. We have the same Saturn square Uranus that we've always had. And you can see how it's getting darker now. That's because Uranus is, they're both in retrograde. So, and the Saturn is going faster. So it's actually getting it's sweetening it up again. It's getting more dominant, that square. And that's the changing of the guards, I'm going to call it. It's the insight and eccentricity, being different and free, is wearing the status quo raw. It is making change. It's changing the status quo. Then we have the sun is going to go into Virgo, and that's going to feel a lot different because the sun was really enjoying the Leo energy. You get one more full moon, and then the sun goes into Virgo. That's all I'd like to say there. Let's get started. Thursday, the 19th. The big news here. Well, there's a lot of big news, but this is one of the main ones here is Mars and Mercury is just went exact. That's going to be in the morning of August 19th. And as I talked about before, this is the trine with Uranus. I had to hand draw in this square, Uranus square Saturn. That's just because my software ages out after 4 degrees orb. But you're going to see that reappear when Saturn and Uranus get closing up. They're currently 6 degrees away from each other in their respective signs. So you have Mars and Mercury. We talked about that last week. It's more of practical to do, take care of myself sort of action and thoughts. And that could be obsessive, but it could be very judgmental. And that's the downside of Virgo. But the good side is that you can get some stuff done, and it's just a to-do list, and it's very methodical. It can be very methodical, except now you've got this easy change. You've got easy over, you got a double easy over to Uranus. And Uranus right now is still going direct. It's going to go station and retrograde here in a couple of days. But that change in insight in your material world, Taurus, the way your stubbornness is changing that. And that's an interesting dynamic. Uranus is changing the stubbornness. So whatever you're stubborn about is changing. Whatever your finer things you like is changing. All your Taurus aspect of your life, the Taurus part of your life, is in a change right now. Drastic, fast change. So this is easy to change, and that makes it very challenging for the Virgo. And when the Virgo sort of gets into OCD mode, it's going to turn into more overwhelm, or it can. So even though you see these greens, I'm thinking the result could easily be a feeling of overwhelm, like there's just too much to do and too many things are being added to my plate and yada, yada. I have my suggestions, but those are in the solution. Now, Sun oppose Jupiter. This is a challenge. This can be challenging, but it can, just on the offset of this continuum of energy, it can sway you to more extreme fun, too much abundant fun, too much fun. So Jupiter also represents wisdom. And so you're having to balance at the end state of this Leo as we end up heading towards that full moon. You are working out the balance between your inner child and having fun versus your higher self and what is my role in the collective, i.e. Aquarius. So that's an energy too. You can see Venus trine Saturn. And I'm going to talk about that here because the moon's going to connect with Saturn, and then you're going to have a double trine. Trine is easy energy, and so emotional about the status quo or the foundation or the government, emotions about the government that are being sort of worn thin by Uranus. Saturn in Aquarius could be sort of a future look. Aquarius is very future oriented. And so this is an orientation. You can't ever know what the future will be unless you really tune into your intuition and know how to read it. Excuse me. So Venus with this is at home again and creating beauty, creating harmony. And so this is easy to be able to make peace with the new status quo, right? This also could be easy to harmonize with the changing of the guards. I like that. Changing of the guards. But Venus brings an easy energy into what could be difficult for a lot, for the collective. It is a difficult time. It is akin to giving birth to something new. On Saturday, the 21st, big shout out to Teresa. Happy birthday to you on this day. Can't wait for the next CIRF report. 21st is a 52nd birthday, and the 22nd is the full moon. That's correct. So happy birthday to Teresa. And let's see what we have. Well, we have a new alignment here. We have Mercury, Trine, Pluto. What does that mean? Well, that goes back to the CIRF report. The Dreambot. This is the Dreambot, folks, because you have both memes in here. You have comms, that's the Mercury, and then you have destruction and violence and chaos. That's Pluto. So, and it's easy energy together. So you have the Dreambot, and it was pointing us to maybe an explosion. Remember, dreams work in metaphors. So explosion may be an explosion in thought or an explosion in the status quo. Could be metaphoric, but yes, of course, it could be very direct. With all the challenges in weather, we've seen unbelievable direct metaphors, direct matches to what's happening in the world in terms of weather. So anyway, this one is on the 21st, Mercury trine Pluto. Now, so just to give you an idea here, Mercury is at 17 degrees of Virgo, and Pluto is at 24 degrees Capricorn. And so their orb is 7 degrees away. And so there's time. I mean, Mercury does whiz by pretty fast here. But there's going to be a few days of this, because if you include 8 degrees on the front side, 8 degrees on the back side, this easy energy is there for quite some time. I should have looked. I didn't look exactly. Is it 10 days? It might be. Just saying. Let's see, what else do we have here? We got the same square that we talked about earlier, same trine. We have the same balancing. Here's a new one. Mercury and Mars, they're still in a conjunction 3 degrees away, oppose Pluto. So that OCD-ish energy and overwhelm, possibly when you include Uranus, you're going to have to balance all that overwhelm with your dreams. In fact, this is the alignment of escape, because you get potentially overwhelmed over here. You just maybe get the idea that I just don't want to do anything. I'm just overtasked, oversaturated, or you're spinning on one project trying to get it perfect. The Mars in Virgo is that perfectionist as well. And Mercury in there too. And so that gets tasking. That doesn't sound right. But anyway, that gets overwhelming, and so you escape. That's Neptune in Pisces, and just go hide somewhere, curl up in a ball, and just imagine your way away, or go to sleep and dream, or use drugs. Neptune is drugs. So this is the alignment of escapism. So watch out for that. Now, that's really close to the I-Ching. So I want to highlight that since I'm talking about it. Take a picture of this. This is Neptune oppose Mercury and Mars. What we don't want to do, according to the I-Ching, is escape. So you're going to have the energy of wanting to do this, so you're going to have to resist that urge. Now, on Sunday is when this crazy full moon in Aquarius, second full moon in Aquarius, 29 degrees, 37 minutes of Aquarius. And there's something else happening, and this is mostly for North America. I didn't look and see how this affects places like Europe and the Middle East or whatever, but in North America, generally speaking, the moon is in that setting or have already set phase. And so that's what we're going to be discussing as well, because we have the part of fortune that is setting, and we have Jupiter. Jupiter is about 3 degrees away from the full moon, and you have the part of fortune that is about 4 degrees away. And this is a big deal because this could be a sensation, at least in North America, where you got this crazy full moon that at least I won't be able to see, because I'll be it to see it before it gets to its climax, of course, when it's up here. But when it hits its exact moment, it will have already set here. And I think New York will be further set. And I think the California will be just like on the horizon. But anyway, as it's setting, this energy is setting too. So it's the craziness seems like it's setting. But part of fortune says that there's a fortune with this change. And that's this sensation that it's going away, that it's setting, that it's going down. And, oh no, it's ending. And that's just a sensation. I'm not saying that there's no fortune. It just feels like fortune is also setting. It feels like optimism is also setting, optimism and wisdom with Jupiter. So your urge is probably going to be to try to lift that up, we go back to Not For Me to Say's comment with, I'm only accepting that which is positive. I think this is an example of where you can get yourself into trouble with that statement. Because in this energy, especially if you're in the central time zone where the moon is already set, it's like, oh no, it feels like evil's coming on. It feels like the positive is just totally ending. And that never happens. Never happens. In the universe is yin and yang together. It might look like things are turning bad, but there's always good with it. You just have to know where to see it. So that's the trick here. That's one of the many tricks here with the full moon, is because it looks like, it might feel like fortune and optimism are setting with this moon. The other trick here is that the moon is in Aquarius. So technically Uranus, who has, let me check. Okay, so I missed it, but Uranus has already gone retrograde. So between the start of our week and Sunday, or August 22nd, Uranus will have gone station in retrograde. And that Uranus is changing the material world, is in control of, or is dominating or ruling this full moon, because it's Uranus, home to Uranus. And so what does that mean? Well, this full moon is more inward, because these planets, remember those outward planets are in retrograde. So that sort of moves the energies inward to us, inside of us. That's why that retrograde is important. And then the moon is just in Aquarius. So things like freedom, eccentricity, being unique, insight, knowledge, disclosure, anti-establishment, all that stuff is included in this. But it's a very chaotic energy. Full moons are pretty chaotic. Well, I mean, Aquarians are eccentric anyway. They just want to be different. So that's going to exacerbate just being a full moon, right? Oh man, what else? There's so much here. All these other alignments, I think I've covered those already. So those are still there. The escapism feeling is still there, especially with the setting of fortune and optimism. So watch out for that. All right, Monday. So after that whole parade, then Sun goes into Virgo, and the little child, the Leo sun went kicking and screaming because he is home to Leo and now not home. So it's going to be a shift. Reality sets in. The sun in Leo just wants to have fun and creativity and just wonderment. A lot of imagination is in there, a lot of creativity. And now, not that Virgos aren't creative, but it's a lot more, it's a lot more practical. Like you're able to see what's wrong. You're not, there's little illusion, and you know what needs to get done. And we tend to be a little bit more perfectionistic and OCD-ish in there, maybe scatterbrained. Reality sets in, the to-do, heavier energy, and the shoulds. Virgo can tend to be very self-judgmental. And then look at all these oppositions. Does the moon connects with Neptune? And this is just the beginning. So you got 2 full days of moon and Neptune. These are from the same strain, the emotions and the spirituality. The book called The Spiritual Anatomy of Emotions. I'm not recommending it, or I'm not saying you need to go read it, but it connected the gateway to the spirit world was the emotions. And so this connection, this conjunction is very spiritual, very emotional, very spiritual. It's going to make that escapism even more important or more exacerbated. And you might get some spiritual insights through that. This is the seer's delight. This 2 days, I call it the seer's delight. The moon and Neptune together. I don't normally talk about moon things, but hey, the moon just had a full moon. And so it's still big and bright and full of craziness. On Tuesday, the 24th, remember Mercury and Pluto? Mercury is at 21 degrees. Pluto's at 24 degrees. So closing in, but still not on that first leg, not finishing that first leg. So this easy energy, this easy communications disaster, this communications destroyer, just easy to destroy communication, easy to destroy thoughts, easy to death and rebirth of what you thought you knew, what you were communicating. And then on Wednesday, last day of our CIRF week, it's Earth Day. Why? Look at all the planets in Earth signs. It's that simple. Plus you have, there's a missing line here because there's 10 degrees between Pluto and Uranus. But this is a very loose grand Earth trine. Grand Earth trine's very earthy, grounded, 5 senses, very real, sees things the way they really are compared to others. And that's why I call it Earth Day. 5 planets in Earth signs, more than any other sign. Let me take a drink before we get into the I-Ching. All right. The first thing I noticed when I cast the coins was this was 33. Interesting. 33, huh? That denotes some special eyes, special understanding, but also there is no change line. So the influence is also the solution, and it's heaven over mountain. In my opinion, that was a typo, mountain. But that's the way it should be, heaven over mountain. It is as it should be, but it's retreat. Now on the surface, I was like, oh no, we don't want to be surrendering this. We've done so much. We've come so far. And let me start off with this. Strategic retreat is not to be confused with escape or surrender. So boom. So what is it? What is retreat? All worthy goals meet some resistance. When negative forces predominate, a well-timed retreat can be a good move for keeping your energy up and allowing you to preserve. You humans are not designed to go from birth to death in one straight line or moving forward. We have to take steps back. We have to relax. We have to rejuvenate. Most of us are diurnal, so we take a break of our day and we sleep for hopefully about 7 or 8 hours. If you're not getting 7 or 8 hours, then go to intervention.com and sign up for a coaching session. You need good sleep. And sleep is absolutely critical this week. So anyway, let's continue. Nevertheless, a well-timed retreat may require quick and nimble movement in order to take up a new position before you are damaged by a current threat. You are not admitting defeat by such action, but increasing your options by preserving your energy and other resources. Sometimes it is necessary to slow down, let go, or move back to better position yourself for future moves or to draw an opponent closer. Timing is critical, as is positioning and considerations of personal security. Skillful retreat is truly a sign of intelligence and strength. Periods of withdrawal or retreat call for cool-headedness, so keep your wits about you. Attend to details while allowing for enough time to contemplate the big picture. And be creative in your solutions. Remember, not all progress follows a straight line, as I talked about before. Excuse me. Waves of progress are short-lived. Strive to attune yourself to the up and down cycles of life. If you want something, allow it to come to you. Let me read that again. Attune yourself to the up and down cycles of life. If you want something, allow it to come to you. If you push for something or pull too hard, you gain resistance this week. This week is, you don't want to create resistance. Don't fool yourself into thinking you can fix any situation whenever you feel like it. Some things are bigger than you. Hold your pride in check, and you will be better prepared to discover creative openings when they arise. There will be opportunities that open for each one of us, and all of our opportunities are different. So again, if it looks like catastrophe, chaos, violence, the answer is, instead of pushing hard, it's looking for the opportunity and quietly going there, either to reserve your energy, rejuvenate, or to gain a better advantage. Pushing too hard equals life responds by pushing back. There is not much you can do in this situation but step back and give the situation or person breathing room. Foot stomper here, because it is unchanging. That's the hexagram is unchanging. A lack of positive response can go on for a long time, possibly permanently. Yikes. On a softer note, the message can be to just step back and think about what you're asking because your reasoning isn't sound. In most cases, the message is that you need to withdraw from an inferior situation, or withdraw from a way of thinking or a way of questioning, but you don't want to create resistance. All right. Now, going into our converter slide. The full moon was over here. That goes right just barely inside of Aquarius. And that goes into the last line of hexagram 30 in the rave. And because the moon whips around so fast, we're going forward into Capricorn for the sidereal. Gate 30 is the gate of fate, the gate of recognition of feelings. Feeling is a thirst for destiny and a hunger for change. The recognized feeling leads to the conceptual potential for change. However, there are three distinct differences. The emotional wave moves from pain to hope, and the true potential of emotional awareness lies between these highly energetic poles. The feeling for change must move through the wave. The feeling of pain, which initiates the yearning for change and a cursing of the fates. The feeling of hope, which initiates the yearning for change and praise to the fates. The potential awareness that can recognize the feeling and leaves its outcome in the hands of fates. I have a lot to say about that, but I don't want to get into too much. I would rewind it and just let that percolate and see what that means to you. I think the most important things on this hexagram are over on line 6, enforcement, discipline to maintain right action, the assertiveness to purge the inferior while accepting the lead of the weak. The strength to eliminate negative feelings is in there because it's the gate of feelings. Freedom recognized as an illusion and limitation accepted as a fate. That matches almost perfectly with the setting full moon, the crazy, inspiring, eccentric full moon setting with its optimism and, positivity. This is what this feels like. And so I'm hinging on this, the assertiveness to purge the inferior while accepting to lead the weak. Very profound. So let's go ahead and get right into the final slide. This is Uranus. He wears sunglasses. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he does. And he likes to throw curveballs. And they're fast. And it also represents technology. Find that interesting too. Technology is going to be a big meme this week because it's the Uranus curveball. All right, here's the solution slide. Remember, we had the I-Ching 33. Retreat. It's not surrender or escape. It's about being nimble and agile. Increase your options. Improve your situation. Regain your energy. Stay calm and attend to details. That's very Virgo. Allow things to come to you. Pushing will create resistance. The rave says discipline to maintain right action, assertiveness to purge the inferior, while accepting to lead the weak. Okay, Capricorn. Capricorn can be sort of fearful and rigid. So we want to make sure that we accentuate the positive sides of Capricorn, which is ambitious, prudent, responsible, and goals are good, and especially discipline. So the overlap is this. The crazy Aquarian full moon this week is setting on fortune and optimism. Failure comes by trying to hold this craziness and optimism up or to try to control it in some way. It feels like it's getting out of control for everybody. This is the energy of feeling like everything's getting out of control, and that accentuates this setting of optimism. So what do we do instead? The moon wants to set, so the I-Ching tells us not to resist it. Allow chaotic energy its space. Stay calm. Pay attention to your best position. There is no need to surrender or escape. Be nimble and agile to place yourself in a quiet, winning position. Recognize how the energy plays out in others. People may be demanding even more compliance. Remember the rave? They're demanding right action. Can't remember the exact term. Let's go read it now. They're going to be hinging on this: freedom recognized as an illusion and limitation accepted as fate. They're going to try to use that against you to control you. So people may be demanding even more compliance, but remember, you don't want to resist back or push back, because that pushing is going to create resistance. So you just let the threats or let the demands, just let them float on past. Rave tells us to maintain right action. Very mindful action this week may put you in a position to lead the weak ones. And you're not going to get to that leadership position if you demand it. That's going to actually create more resistance. So you're not leading unless the universe needs you to lead. And when that happens, when that gets put into your lap, then you take that Capricorn reins, even though you're feeling fearful, then you take in that ambition and prudence and responsibility and lead the weak ones. The Capricorn energy will undoubtedly make you question your authority and make you doubt yourself. Remember your goals and remain responsible and prudent. Rave gives you the strength to obliterate the Capricorn pessimism. Whew. That was a lot. At 46 minutes, that could be my longest one. What else did I notice? Not the most viewers that we had, but I think we had one of the record of comments. And so I really appreciate the tribe that we've created by batting back and forth information, not contesting each other, but more of suggesting and moving us all towards more truth about what's happening next, truth about where we're headed as a society. And above all, just knowing that we're all one, but we all have different faces of this diamond we call humanity. And without the different faces, it's not beautiful. So what makes the diamond beautiful is that we have different ideas, different ideologies. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. Get on Telegram and let's get started in finding the truth and figuring out where humanity is headed, okay? Righting the wrongs. And why don't we take not for me to say, make that comment for humanity. And there is a life path for humanity. And we have people sort of taking the reins on that, or they want control of it. But I think there's better goals, better life path for humanity. And that's on the other end of the continuum. But anyway, let's think about that, ponder that, how we can right the wrongs and create an environment for all of us to shine our life path, to be helping others in our best skills and talents. We need an environment to where all of us can provide value to others. And I'm not sure it's possible in a strictly controlled environment, but hey, that's just me. All right, everybody, I appreciate you. I appreciate your differences. Have a blessed week. See ya.